Hello and welcome to the Tag Sanity overview video. The reason why you're watching this is probably because you are having some issues with your tags or campaign organization. Like many Infusionsoft / keap users, it can get out of hand very, very quickly. And what we want to prevent is having like 10,000 tags and a bunch of campaigns, and you're noticing slowness in your app. Not only that, but nobody within the company knows how to find anything, which can be very, very frustrating. So this training will walk you through how to clean up your tags and campaigns collaboratively, because it's important that everybody within the company understands why the cleanup was done, how it was done, what it's going to be going forward, and to make sure that they maintain it going forward. We'll also go over maintenance, what to do ongoing, and just kind of overall strategy behind tag and campaign organization. So in the email you will have received, you will have a download of an Excel file. I highly recommend you do not use it as an Excel file, but rather go into Google Docs. You can open up any Google Docs. I have it open already here, but on Google Docs, just go File and then do a import. And once you have it on your computer, you can go upload, and I have it just here, and I can drag it over, and it will then upload into your Google Drive. You're then going to want to share it with everyone in your team, but first we have to create a new spreadsheet, import the data. It might take a second. Then we can go Open Now. Your brand spanking new spreadsheet opens up just like this. You're going to want to rename it, I would imagine, to whatever makes sense for your company name, and then tag organization. I like calling it Tag Sanity. Kind of helps bring out what the goal of doing this whole thing is. And let's walk through this document as an overview, first of all, and then walk through some of the steps that we're going to do throughout this process. So the first page on this is a tag naming system. Now, there are a ton of really, really smart people out there that have tag naming conventions, and I recommend that you look at all of them and see what works for you. This is an accumulation of all of them. Check out Box Out Marketing and Monkey Pod are two of my favorites. This is an accumulation of watching those ones and kind of working it with clients and then also internally. To see what works for us. So these are this kind of the standard categories of what people will use. You'll see this one says trigger, system, and functional. You wouldn't typically use all three of these. Commonly it'll be one of these three. If I were to choose one, I would probably choose system. It's just because it's the most common to me. I really like functional too, because I think functional makes sense as far as, you know, what it is that it does, and we'll go into explaining what that is in just a moment. Now, just one thing before we go any further to make very, very clear, there is no perfect way to organize your tags or organize your campaigns. The perfect way is that you as a company decide this is how we are going to do it. You can take any methodology or any strategy from anyone out there, but if you don't use it and you don't use it consistently within your application, it's completely useless. What is going to make or break this is that everybody in the company gets on board with it and says, hey, yeah, this makes sense. This is how we're going to use tags going forward. This is how we're going to name our campaigns going forward. This is what categories we're going to put them in. Yeah, this makes sense. That is what is going to make or break this. It doesn't matter who you listen to. If you don't have everyone's buy-in within the company, then it's not going to work, and you're going to have to do this in another 6 months anyways. It's my little rant over there. So let's walk through these tag category names. So a status tag is meant to say, you know, where people are at within your system, something that they've done, something that they're waiting for. They are meant to be applied and then removed within a certain amount of time. It could be a week, could be 2 weeks, could be 5 minutes, could be a month, could be a couple months, but there is some sort of end life to having that tag on their account. A status tag could be someone's walking through a system and they've clicked on a link, and because they've clicked on a link, an internal staff member needs to call them. And you know, this is something that I got from 6th Division, who also have a great tag methodology as well. They use a lot of those status tags throughout their campaigns. System tags. System tags are meant, again, to be applied and then removed, but much, much quicker. So system tags will start a campaign within your system. So this goes back to how you do campaigns, though, that every one of our campaigns, and this is something that we took from 6th Division, it has a start and a stop tag. And you might think, well, I don't need a start and a stop tag for all of my campaigns. And trust me, it will make your life so much easier down the road, because you end up in this situation where you're like, oh yeah, all those 5 opt-ins should stop when this one thing happens. And if you don't have this system already in place, someone's got to go back and add all of those functionalities, or they have to remember, how do we start and stop all of those different campaigns. And adding this right off the bat is going to save you a lot of heartache and really systematize your Infusionsoft. So start and stop tags are a start tag starts the campaign, a stop tag stops it. Both the start and the stop tag need to be removed immediately once someone gets into the campaign. If you don't do this, it breaks the system. Anyways, little side note on campaigns there. History tags. So history tags are never meant to really be removed. Those are ones that you want to track going forward. If you want to see what has this contact done in the past, and the history category is typically the one that has the most amount of things in it, but it shows you a history of everything that the contact has done. So if you want to keep something on the contact record for the lifetime of the contact, then you would put it in the history category, not the status category. Profile. Profile tells us something about them. They could be, for this particular example on this page, it's a company that does like the paint night type things. So they wanted to know, like, are they an artist? Are they a licensee? Are they a customer? Were they referred by somebody? Maybe they're male, maybe they're female, maybe they're good at art, maybe they think they're bad at art. Something that tells you about them. These can be removed over time as this person changes and updates their statuses and preferences. Temp one, this is a personal favorite because we often within Infusionsoft will create tags that have a very specific purpose that I only really need for about a month or maybe even less. But if these are put into history or status, it ends up creating a lot of unneeded clutter in your system. But having that temp one means that if I add something in a temp folder, then I know that when I do my cleanup every 3 months or so, all of those tags can be deleted without fear that something's going to be messed up within the system, and that's why they're very helpful. Temp tags always have a date of when they were created with them to make it clear when we can delete them. So typically I tell people within companies that put your date on there and expect that tag is going to be deleted within 30 days. If you are not comfortable with it being deleted in 30 days, then maybe you need to create a different kind of tag. Membership tags. Membership tags are tags that relate to membership levels. Business Tech Ninjas, we typically do build a lot of membership sites. We are specialists in building out membership sites. So a lot of our clients will have membership categories specifically, and I've gone back and forth between wanting to put membership tags into other categories, but I found that from a usability perspective, but both from our side and then also from business owners, that having its own category has been very, very helpful. So typically you'll see like the name of the membership level and then a PAYF or a cancel or suspended will actually go in there. And then sometimes we'll put like a course access tag in there as well. If you have a membership site, this is very relevant. If you don't, just totally ignore it and you don't need that one. Accounting tags are related to billing. This is actually that are, maybe someone's got an accountant failure or maybe their payment plan is lapsed. There's a little bit of crossover between the membership one and then the accounting one, because we do see like a payment failure tag that belongs in the membership one but could also be in accounting. It's really up to you of whatever makes the most sense to you. It's, again, you have to decide on a system of where things go. Reporting. This is actually an error. These ones are not on there. Reporting is that anything you want to report on an ongoing basis. Sometimes the Infusionsoft built-in reporting doesn't give us enough of what we need, so we need to tag people in order to report on it. So that would be where that would go. Preferred location is really specific to this particular example and probably not necessary for most other people. So what you're going to find is that you're probably going to have categories that are specific to your business, and that's completely okay. I wouldn't say that you'd need any more than 10. If you have more than 10 categories, then you got to start really challenging yourself to slim that down and say, like, how are these the same? And this is where it can be really helpful having a company like Business Tech Ninjas come in to give you that outside perspective. Because sometimes when we're in the company and we're working with all of these, you get really caught up in, oh, well, it needs to be that way because of this reason. And really, from an outside perspective of having someone come in and look at your tags and your categories, they can ask a little bit harder questions for you to really kind of put everything back to you to say, well, do you really need 2 categories for that? Do you really need 3 tags for that? Are you ever going to use this going forward? So it's really important to ask those tough questions. Otherwise, this whole process is probably a little bit like useless. Like if you're not willing to let go of some of those things. So this is the tag overview, and what you're going to do throughout this process is update this based on what your categories are, and put in what is the purpose of your categories that are specific to your business, and then also what are your tag examples. And then I like adding a question over here of, how do we make sure that the tags that are being put in this category are relevant to it? So you can see here, does this tag tell you, and the status one makes sense, does this tag tell you where someone is at or where they're going? Is it something that will be removed at some point in time? It's kind of like the litmus test of, does this belong in this category or not? So our next page is going to be the tag cleanup, which we're going to go over in a little bit more detail in a second. And there's a tag cleanup too, which again, I'll help you understand in just a little bit. And then we have the campaign naming, very similar to the tag naming. You should have campaign categories now within Infusionsoft, and it's important to use those. That will make your life a lot easier. Before we used to have to put the campaign names directly within the campaign name itself, or the campaign category directly within the name itself, rather than having those campaign categories. And it's something we all asked for, and Infusionsoft came through with. So it's definitely something that you want to utilize if you can. Again, looking at the different purposes. So a marketing one are getting attention or giving something away. So typically in my mind, marketing ones are ones that are already people in your system that you're then marketing to or running some sort of sale or something with. The opt-ins are new people coming in that they've asked for something and you're going to deliver it. The marketing on the opt-in could, in theory, be the same one. I like having all my opt-ins in a separate category because it allows me to easily just show all the campaigns that have my opt-ins in it, which I found that over time is very, very helpful as you get up there in your amount of opt-ins as time goes on. Sales is, they've, from the marketing portion, they've expressed some level of interest and they said, hey, yeah, I want to do business with you. So it goes into a sales campaign, potentially having someone internally to call them, to sell them, or give them more information potentially. Fulfillment is delivering on something that someone has purchased. Specifically, I draw the line at, I do not think that there is an opt-in fulfillment. A fulfillment for something that they got for free would go in marketing, or opt-in. Fulfillment to me is specifically something that someone has paid money for. And then internal is just for your own, is some sort of system functionality. So the update here is, the example here is a yoga company that does yoga retreats. So they have a system and a functionality in the back end that makes it so that a contact record will get their hours added to them as they go through the system and take retreats and courses and different things. Then we have our campaign cleanups down here, and then the drop downs are, you'll see throughout that there's different drop downs that we're going to be able to see. So you're going to want to be able to update those. So if we go back over here. So our next step is to, we're going to do an export out of all of our current tags. So the first step is to clean up what you have going on right now, and then really walk through it and think through it. And I really challenge you to take some time for this. This is not something that is like a rush job that we're going to get done in a couple hours. I typically will do this over a couple weeks with people to just really allow it to sit and to think about how this is going to be used. This is the most amount of time investment you're going to put into this is upfront, and going forward it's maybe an hour or two every 3 months to just maintain it and make sure it's working. But this initial time will save you and pay off in twofold down the road. So what we need to do is we need to export out our current tags. So when you're in your application, we have a sandbox app here. Under CRM and then settings, go to tags. And then I'm going to click this box here. But first, before I do that, I'm going to organize all of these by category. Well, a bunch of mine don't have a category, so that's good. So I'm going to go actions, and then I'm going to go export. We want to keep all of these checked, and then process, or process, depending on if you're American or Canadian. And then it's going to open up my XLV. So these are all my tags. So it has ID, name, number, and category. Let's just go back to my organization thing. ID, name, number, and so we have to play around with this a little bit when we insert this in, which is why we have it separated out. So we're just going to do ID, name, and number, and we're not going to put the category in there quite yet. So we'll go back to Excel, and we're just going to take all of these and just scroll down. And this could this particular app doesn't have a whole lot in here, so it's not too bad, but yours could take a lot longer, so just give yourself some time. And then I'm going to paste this in there, so it puts all my numbers in there. And then the second step is to go back to the Excel and then grab all of the categories now. So I'm going to grab all of these, and they should be in the exact same order, so they'll match up completely. So I'm going to go, we have to make sure I'm at the top, and then do the category. So now from here, what we do when we're working with a client is that we'll go through their app and look at the number of people and everything. We'll go and try to dig about what a tag is doing, and then we will give our next recommended action over here of either delete, potentially combine with something out. Maybe we need more information, there's an update, or there's no action, like, hey, this looks good. So delete's pretty self-explanatory. Combine means that we're going to have to put in the notes here of what it's going to be combined with. And then we have a find out more information. And then we also have an update. So update means that I don't like the name of this needs to be updated. So I'll throw the updated name in here. And you'll notice that we have some conditional formatting on here where it will show what the update portion is. And you'll notice there's updated categories here. So how these work is in the drop downs, you're going to want to throw all of the categories that you actually want to use. So it's a good thing to maybe go through your categories first and decide which categories you're going to use going forward, and then just add them to the drop downs, and those will be reflected when you come back over here. So you have update here, and then find out more, and then there's the no action, which is pretty self-explanatory. So typically when we're walking through this with a client, we'll go through all of them and dig what we can find out, and then we'll ask the client to go through, and either they'll put theirs. So we're looking for it to match up. So if we say no action and they say no action, then okay. So sometimes what'll happen is we'll say delete, and they'll say, yeah, no, we're just going to combine this or update this with something else rather than deleting it. And then a status of just whether it's been completed. So after we go through this, and typically we'll have them go through this and put in all of their actions, and then we'll get on an hour call and walk through it. And then after that hour call, we agree and we walk through any questions that they might have. Then we'll go through and action everything, which is what the status portion is about, to say like, okay, has this been completed or not? So let's quickly look at one that already has been done. So this is one that we've done. And you can see that, a lot of updated names here, and then some notes. We put a lot of notes on here, next action, and the status portion up here. So there's a lot that goes into this. They had, I think, about 700 or 800 tags or so of just going through it, and just updating the categories, updating the names, and putting notes. It's very collaborative, and you want to make sure anyone that's actively in Infusionsoft is involved in this process. So let's go back to ours. So then from that point, it's, so if you're doing this internally, then the first internal person would do this section, and then we'd either walk through it on a call with another person. It's really important that not just one person is going through this, because I would bet money that if you do have just one person responsible for this, then there's going to be miscommunication, and that potentially things are going to be deleted that should not have been deleted. So it's very important that this is a collaborative process. And then from there, we make all the actions, and then we do a tag cleanup too. So we'll go through and re-export out again just to make sure we didn't miss anything. And then throughout the whole process of as you're coming up with this, you're going to come up with updating these. What are your categories? Understanding what the purpose are of it, putting your own examples in here. And this becomes then a living document for anyone that's creating tags within your system. Like if you have an Infusionsoft consultant or something coming in, to make it so like, hey, look at our tag documentation to make sure you're following this. And we do a same kind of thing with the campaigns. So do an export out of your campaign names, and the number of people active in it would be this one, an updated name, an updated category potentially, and then recommended actions. If you're anything like most Infusionsoft customers, you go to some conference or you find something, they're like, we'll automatically add these campaigns into your app, and then you end up with like 20 campaigns that you never actually ended up using. Or maybe you just offhandedly started creating a campaign and never finished it. But it's important to clean that stuff up. It's fine for a year, but we're talking a couple years down the road, that ends up being a lot of clutter in your application, and this system will help with that. And so after you've done everything like this, throw something in your calendar for about 3 months from now to go through it again and do a re-export out again, and just make it a habit to do that every 3 months, to go through these tags and the campaigns, to keep your system clear, because you probably haven't been in an app that has 10,000 tags and 500 campaigns, but it is painful and it is not worth it, and it's just frustrating for internal people. Even if you never make it to that level, like just the frustration of not being able to tell what anything is in your application sucks. So do yourself a favor, get yourself some tag sanity, follow this system. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, Melodie, Melodie, at businesstechninjas.com, or post in our fantastic Facebook group, the Ninja Den, and we're happy to help in whatever way we can. Thank you, and happy tag sanity.